Welcome to Short Scale Modelling. This is part 15 of Tamiya's US Aircraft Carrier Enterprise CVN65. Scale is 1:350. In this video, I'm going to be starting the weathering process on the deck. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So to start off with the weathering process, I'm going to be using Ammo MIG's oil brushers, and this one is the buff. And just putting dots of the pigment around areas, first of all. This is just a generic splodge, really, because I'm going to be thinning these down. And I'm just using a normal paint thinner for this to thin them down. So I just take a bit of paint thinner, apply it to my brush, take away any excess, of course, then just paint in the area that I put the splodges on. So just dragging the paint over. There's a few step processes for this. I always start off with a lighter colour before working way up. Now I should say for the offset, but when I was doing this, I thought I had a bad reaction with the paint to the varnish. I did not like the look of it, how it turned out. But I think it just went too much on it. But I do bring it back, and I'll go into that later on in the actual video. And of course I used a little bit too much paint thinner as well, and not only did I lift up the varnish, I lifted up a little bit of the paint, so I had to sort that out as well, of course. In the bottom of the screen I've put in some stock photos of the sort of look that I'm going for. It won't be as light as that on some of the pictures, but that's the sort of weathering that I'm going for. Hence why I'm putting the dust colour, buff colour down now. I'm going to be moving on to the dust colour, and that's just slightly darker colour to the buff, and I'm just adding it. You can see the lighter colour coming through now. So as you can see, I'm applying it all over the deck, and this is where I've probably done a bit too much. And when it dries, it does change a slight colour tone as well. And this is when I thought I got a really bad reaction to it. And I didn't really, thinking about it, just that I applied too much weathering to it. But believe it or not, it is an actual easy fix. I took a little bit of time out to think about it, because I thought I was going to have to take the whole deck off and strip it down. Thankfully that wasn't necessary. So this is the coat dried now, and as you can see it is rather white. So what I'm doing first of all is I'm just going over it again with a bit of thinner to take up a little bit of the top coat. This will also blend in some of the larger streak marks that I've got. I did purposely leave in streak marks to simulate the tyre wear on the takeoff areas and landing areas. But I put in too much. So once I've done that, I moved over then to Starship Bay Sludge, and this really dark colour is where the lines are. I think these are the catapults for the aircraft. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what the traps are here. But this will be going on in the same principle of just putting a line down and then taking any excess of blending it in with the paint thinner. And there you can see there, just smudges it all down and creates a burnt out mark. And similar to the same process is on the runway area where I believe the wheels would touch on takeoff or landing of the aircraft. So you've got that heavy tar rubber mark so on the tarmac as such. Well, that's my way of thinking anyway. But it goes on the exact same way as well. The process is always the same. And as I'm doing this with the darker colour, I'm starting to go over the white markings and the yellow markings to dull them down and dirty them up also. Now moving on to Tamiya's Weathering Master Series C, and I'm using the rust component here, and I'm just placing the rust marks around the ship where I think it's necessary. Again, there's no direct pattern to this, it's just how I feel and where I think it'll look good. So I've moved my camera slightly so you can see a little bit better angle of the rust pigment going on. But it's basically the same technique with the rust pigment, just putting on these little marks going streaking down the ship in various areas. I'm now shifted over to the name plaque, and I'm just painting in the letters, and I'm using the Gundig marker pen. I haven't got any photos of these, or I would have flashed it up. But these are just paint markers that are mostly for figure painting and things like that, but they're excellent. I found out for paint and the sides. You just use them like a normal pen, and as you can see there, they're quite effective. And if I do have any slips, which occasionally my handwriting is terrible, so occasionally I will do, I'll just touch it up with the background colour. The colour I decided to use was a metallic green, and there's two plaques. I've also done a silver one on the other one, but the metallic green I like best, but there's the two of them in contrast. And then once that's done, I'll just cement the plaque to the stand. Now you're not really meant to do this, you're just meant to have the name plaque on its own separate stand and pushed in, but I just cemented it to the actual stand itself. I dry fitted it for the ship to sit on it, and it sits perfectly fine on it, so there's no need to build a separate stand, I don't think. Keep it all in one, is my opinion. The next step is to make up a wash, and for this I'm using my normal deck paint and also AK washable agent. Now the idea with this is it turns any acrylic paint into a wash, so you're not using any inks or things like that you would normally create a wash with. And you just add about 10% to your paint. So however much paint you have got is about 10%. Now this Humbrol paint that I'm using here is almost finished. This is the one I was using for the deck, so it's the exact same colour. So I'm just going to add the agent to that. Saves on mixing bottles and things like that, and it's, as I said, it's the paint that I've been using. So I'm just going to add the agent to that. I'm using a pipette, and I'll stir it up, then I'll be ready to use. If I find it's too thick, I will add a little bit of water, just normal tap water, to thin it down a bit. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes not. It depends on how much agent you put in. And then I simply take the wash, then apply it to the deck. Now I've already done half the deck at this point, and I'm just putting on, it's very thin. All the other colours will still come through, but it will just take the harshness of my weathering back a little bit, and I'll just bring the deck back to where I want it. I'm not putting this on the actual runway strip. I still want the lighter version of that on there, but the other areas of the deck, I'm going to bring it back a little bit. So you can see there, the buff colours coming off too strongly. So again, using the wash, I'll just take the harshness off that weathering effect and bring it back down. And once that's dried and I'm happy with it, then I'll be able to start placing on all the aircraft. So what I've done here is I've positioned all the aircraft on how I want it. There's my little dog in the background here, having a laze about. Anyway, they're not secure yet. They're just there so that I can see where I want each aircraft goes. There is a map on the instructions if you want to follow that there, or you can just do how you feel it. I used a bit of both. I put on some of the ones that the instructions said in a specific way, and other ones I just placed on how I liked the look of. And these are all attached with a little bit of super glue. Now, the reason why I'm using super glue, not normal cement, well, that is because I would have to start scratching away all the paintwork, because there's too much paintwork for the glue to eat into. So super glue is the best option. The downside of that is, of course, super glue doesn't adhere very well to this type of plastic. So if you give it a good knock, you'll detach some parts with it. So just bear that in mind. It's enough to keep them anchored, but if you handle the model too roughly, you will end up losing parts. This is why I say never use superglue to actually bond a model together. The bond will not last. And I've just fast forward through this a little bit. It's all basically the same. Of adding a little bit of super glue to the wheels of the aircraft and placing them on the deck where I see fit. As I said, there's a lot to put on. You see one thing going on, you probably see them all. So there's no point of going through every single little piece. But you can see it all building up here quite nicely. And so I'll just finish up putting these aircraft on, and this will bring the part 15 to an end, and of course the end of the build. Now the next part of the video log will be the actual final review. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? There may be something there that will hold your interest. If you do have a look and you like it, why don't you subscribe to the channel? And if you do so, please hit that notification bell. That way you'll get up to date, not only with this build, but all my future builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, feel free to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.